She joined Toastmasters in 1987, governor in 10 years, following the path of Toastmaster Helen Blanchard, the youngest woman to become the accredited speaker in 1993 and was the only sixth woman to do so. The recipient of the Presidential Citation in 2009, an author of 17 published books, and her book, Heart of Toastmasters, has received the award for Best Anthology from the International Book of Awards, International of Sparkle Presentations based in California. And tonight, she will be enlightening us with a topic and the keynote on assertive communication skills. My dear friends, phenomenal women around the globe, please help me welcome the distinguished Toastmaster, accredited speaker, Cheryl Rausch.
Thank you. Welcome to all of my Toastmasters, women in Toastmasters, and our wonderful, loving, supportive men. Thank you. When we look at this incredible global first time ever event, what a complete success that this is. With yesterday's theme of individually strong, together powerful, we heard great messages from our international director, from our District 92 director, and today from our top two as well. This has been such an exciting time, and today's theme with Rise and Shine by Lifting Others, I wanted to get away from the office and bring you into my living room. Let's have a conversation from the couch. Girlfriends, sisters from around the globe, what can we do to be more effective in communicating assertively and authentically? Pat Johnson, our past international president, brought great messages into our session today. Luisa, muchas gracias. Thank you so very much for sharing your impactful story. Together, as we use our voice, as a collective, we are greater than any individual. So how can we present in more assertive and authentic ways? Well, and as Pat said that she feels her presence of Helen Blanchard with us, she is. Here is Helen's book, Breaking the Ice. And I'll share with you some of my story because I also knew Helen Blanchard. And as you heard in the introduction, that in District 5 in Toastmasters in Southern California, specifically San Diego, California, that Helen got her starts here. And matter of fact, that she was a very high-level executive administrative assistant at the U.S. Navy Research and Development. She would go out around the world on site, and she would be responsible for training the male engineers in the field in how to transfer and make sense of analyzing data and then to give their presentations. So as she was working at the Research and Development Center, there was a newsletter that came across her desk. And she thought, wow, this looks interesting because it said, join Toastmasters and present with confidence. She said, I need that. There wasn't anything like this that was even available elsewhere. So she went to the club meeting. She didn't read the small print later in the article that said men on the move. Well, guess what, women, we're on the move now. As our district director said yesterday, that currently 52% of the global population of Toastmasters International is, guess what? Women. Wow, that's us. And it's imperative that we embrace our counterparts. So this isn't about us is better, this is about we are better collectively. So it was interesting because when Helen came to the Toastmaster Club the very first time, then the men that she worked with thought that it was a great idea. She actually applied on June 2nd, today is the 7th, so June 2nd, 1970. When they submitted her application, because women were not allowed into the organization. She simply put a non-generic first initial, H. Well, then World Headquarters came back and said, we must have a name. So she thought, wow, women still aren't allowed. What will we do? Her club decided to have a table topics contest and determine what H could stand for. Well, they decided after several names that started with the letter, they decided on Homer. Yeah, Homer. Well, Helen was also from the state of Nebraska, which Homer was a very common name back then for many of the neighbors. Anyway, so they resubmitted it. And then because it was a government agency where Helen worked, then in November of 1971, then World Headquarters accepted that female members could be allowed. In August of 1973, there was a policy change. And Helen also received, she was the first woman to receive Distinguished Toastmaster, and she was number 365. That was on March 15th in 1976. If you saw her driving any of her cars, right there would be her license plate that she took with her. So anywhere in the world that she would go and she'd be driving, it would say HB DTM. So whether you know the story of H. Blanchard, Homer Blanchard, or Helen Blanchard, you know she was very proud of that Distinguished Toastmaster. When she was installed as international president in 1985, as the very first female ever international president, she selected as her presidential theme, Commit to Excellence. And she believes that wherever that we are in our walk of life, whatever our position, our regional position, our political, whatever that it might be, that there is always more room to grow. And as Pat said, I love this. It's my favorite quote by Helen Blanchard ever. She said that if you get out of Toastmasters, everything that you can get out of Toastmasters, you will never get out of Toastmasters. Now, Pat joined a few years before I did. I joined March 15th, 1987. So 33 years and 2 months and a few days. Who's counting? I never thought that I would be in this organization this long. I would go to the district conferences and the annual conventions and I would say, what's wrong with these people? They need to get a life. Now I believe this is a life, and it's how we apply what we learn inside of our club experience that we take out into the world and make our homes, our cities, our communities, our countries, our world a better place, which means that you and I need to raise the bar and rise and shine to lift others with how we communicate with them. So with that, I want to share with you that there are four different type of communication styles, if you will. And you might be familiar with these. The very first one is passive, where we just watch everything go by and we don't speak up, we don't use our voice. The second is aggressive. You're going to hear what I have to say, whether you like it or not, and blah, blah, blah. Then the third group is passive aggressive. So now we go from, I call it wimpy woman, to super shark, where, wow, just we hold on to it. It's also called gunny sacking, ladies, and we really can't let that stack up in us, because life is about continuously releasing what life is not so that we can live what it truly is. So when we're holding on to grudges or whatever that the stuff might be, then we could be very passive about that. We don't say anything, we don't say anything, we don't say anything, and then all of a sudden, boom, we explode. So gunny sacking is where we have like a fish sack or a baguette bag on our back, and then every little thing that everyone's ever said or done to us goes quietly into that bag. Then when it's least expected and someone says maybe they don't like our hairstyle, they don't like our scarf, they don't like our wrap, whatever it is, I can tell you that I was speaking one time, and wouldn't you know it, in one of the 350 evaluations, someone commented that my dress was too short. I was wearing a dress suit with slacks that day. Who knows what people have? Anyway, all that stuff goes into this invisible gunny sack. Then somebody says something that snaps it, and poof, we take that gunny sack and poof, we dump it at their feet. We can tell them anything and everything that they've ever said to us at any time in our life in alphabetical or chronological order. There it is. Boom, mic drop. We can't do that. Because too, holding it in doesn't help us, and it doesn't serve the authentic connection. Everything that we need to do has to do with connection. So the first group, passive. Second, aggressive. Third, passive aggressive. The fourth is assertive. So district team, if you would please insert into the chat box at this time the file called definition. And let's take a look at what this definition. So throughout my session, you will be receiving 3 files in your chat box. So thank you very much, team, for loading that up. The definition of assertive behavior promotes equality in human relationships, enabling us to act in our own best interests, to stand up for ourselves without undue anxiety, to express honest feelings comfortably, to exercise personal rights without denying the rights of others. The book reference on that is from Your Perfect Right, which was co-authored by Alberti and Emmons. And I checked on Amazon yesterday, and the book is still available, both the original and on updated versions. So I'm checking the chat box to make sure that you are getting that file. Thank you very much. So how you can download this is click to download. It's a PDF file. Click to download, and then you can drag it to your desktop would be an easy way to do that. So I wanted to provide you with this definition because too, Pat's already pointed out a couple of things about to stand up for ourselves and about having equality, where she needed to submit an updated resume and to go in and speak up for herself, that she deserved. She absolutely deserved equal pay. And it also kept her in integrity. So that's what assertive behavior is. As it shows up in our communication, then let's take a look at the 7 different types of communication channels, if you will. So if you would, registration team, if you would please put into the chat box the presentation worksheet. Now, I provide this for you to help you with every presentation that you give going forward. Louisa, thank you very much for not only demonstrating the gift of your storytelling, also breaking it down with what those powerful speaking techniques were. Next, you're going to be hearing from a colleague accredited speaker sister, Eldana Lewis Fernandez. Get ready, get your pencil ready there too. So I'm going to be adding some phrases into this. According to great research by Howard Gardner and Thomas Armstrong, there are different intelligences, if you will. It's referred to as the 7 kinds of smart or multiple intelligences. When I spoke to Mensa, some of the most brilliant brains in the world, they hired me to come in and speak because they needed interpersonal communication skills. I bet this is what Helen Blanchard was dealing with when she was talking to the engineers off-site for the US Navy. I just bet. I believe it. So how you would use this, and the 7 different groups are, here's an overview for you. Group number 1 is linguistic. They need words. Group number 2 is mathematical or logical. Group number 3 is visual. We need to see it. Group number 4 is more musical, and I'll be giving more information on each one of these. Group number 5 is kinesthetic, very in touch with their senses and almost an intuitive sense that they have. Those are the main 5. Then there's 2 more in this group, including interpersonal, which are people, and the 7th group is intrapersonal. So how you would use this worksheet is to include something from the middle column of what those listeners' needs are in every presentation that you give. Then in the idea lines on the side, then you would write down what specifically could that be inside of your presentation. Why I share this with you here is that we need to be assertive. This is assertive and authentic communication. How you use this is in preparing for a presentation, or if you're giving a debrief or a meeting, One-on-one, you want to pay attention. This is where active listening skills come in, that you are listening for key words, just like you're doing a Google search, you're kind of doing bookmarks in your head during somebody else's conversation, and you're listening for the cues. A linguistic people might say, oh, can you give me a book reference on that? Or tell me a story, or I hear what you're saying. Those are phrases, communication phrases that you might hear coming from this particular person. So their gifts are that they love to be interpersonal with other people, or reading, brainstorming, metaphors, analogies, acrostics. We love the themes for WIT. We even love the hashtag. So women in Toastmasters, we love the word pictures, Louisa's stories. We appreciated Pat's sharing about standing on the shoulders of giants and who those giants were in her own life, bringing the stories into it. Foreign languages. So for instance, I opened up in, I think, 7 languages. 7 languages. Okay, in Tagalog, did I say magandang umaga po? I'm sorry if I did miss that, but there you go. So good morning in Tagalog from the Philippines, one of the 75 dialects from there. So you can tell I'm a linguistic. I listen to the words. In our club meetings, we're the best grammarians and law counters. We don't miss anything. So we love things. And matter of fact, raise your hand if this describes you, raise your hand, that if you are probably linguistic, especially if you speak more than one language, and it may even be that English is your 3rd or 4th language. So linguistic is your gift. If something is misspelled, a typographical or grammatical mistake, boy, that's your superpower. You know exactly what was incorrect and that it needs to be corrected. Make sure that you have a friend who's linguistic so that, you look good when you're putting things out into the public. So that's group number 1, is linguistic, very keen into words. That's their intelligent. So one-on-one, you need to speak their language. When you're speaking to 2 or more people, we are composed of each of these 7 different channels. My tip here is to meet people where they are. Even if this is not your channel, just pivot just a little bit on that dial to what their channel would be. Then you'll have an instant connection. Have you ever had it happen where you meet someone and you instantly connect? It's like you've been best friends, BFFs forever. Then that's what this is. You're on the same channel. Now, you don't have to raise your hand on this one, ladies. How many of us have had issues in relationships where maybe we've been married a long time and we've never connected? Yeah, you know who you are. Don't raise your hand. Anyway, perhaps by shifting over to their channel that you will have a better relationship. All of this relates not only to speaking, to leading, to managing, to taking care of your elderly parents, to working with your kids. And that might even be the kids who are your coworkers, stay in place working from home right now. This translates from in-personal presentations to online and virtual presentations and Zoom meetings and across the board. So the second group now, they need the bottom line. These are the mathematical or science. They're looking for logistics. They are paying attention for facts, statistics, and details. And that's their superpower. If you hear a person asking you about the budget and they're saying, what's the bottom line? You know that they're mathematically inclined. When we give presentations, this particular group, unlike the others, appreciate bullet points. The mathematical need bullet points if slides are being used, if there's instructions or details of how do we do this particular task or project. Then if there's 5 points, they need to be done in order. You can't skip around, which also means, because women, we are often accused of rambling. I'm not saying it's true. We're often accused of it. Then what we need to do is catch ourselves. And here's a phrase to write down. Here's my point. Yeah, here's my point. Because others in our circles, in our environments are saying, they're thinking, well, what's your point? So just put it right out there. Here's my point. For the mathematical, you can also say, here's the bottom line. Then that person will probably take a deep breath and go, oh, good. Here's what I've been waiting to hear. And that will also shortcut any of those ramblings where we may go and become very concise and specific right there. So that's our second group, mathematical. Yeah, their superpower, by the way, is if a budget or a list of numbers has been provided to them, and if anything is off, even 0.01, it's their gift, they'll find it. Anyway, we need to have them as our club treasurers, so our finance officers inside the club. So that's our first two. Linguistic needs words, mathematical needs numbers and facts. Group number 3, we're visual, we need to see it. So for instance, I am wearing both the lapel pin for accredited speaker, so you see the professional designation, and the presidential citation, which is awarded by one of our other female international presidents, Jana Barnhill. Visual, red. I'm even wearing something very aloha kind of spirit here, something that is internationally, and red for bringing energy into the environment as well. So visual people, we need to see it. Some of the conversation here might be, and how you identify this person is, could you show me the big picture? They need the big picture first and then break it down into what the tasks are. Oh, let's see. They also love demonstrations. As you're showing your sergeant at arms in how to set up the meeting room, they need to see it. If they're mathematical, okay, this is placed X amount of inches or meters from such and such. Linguistic, you can tell them how to do it and they're fine. Visual, you need to show us. So visual people, raise your hand if you're visual. Yep, visual. Okay, great. Now, all right, then visual people, mind mapping. Instead of writing out a speech, Louisa would probably support this. Instead of writing out a speech, which a linguistic would do, a mathematical would put points in how they are crafting their presentation. Visual people, we would probably use a mind map where we just kind of draw a circle and just kind of scribble some things out, and then we organize it later, because that taps into the right brain and gets it out of our head onto a paper in order to help us craft a presentation. Group number 4 is musical. So people quite often ask me here, it's like, well, Cheryl, do I have to sing? Our Toastmaster of the day, number 1, sang, and it was beautiful. If you don't have such a gift, and by the way, Pat Johnson is a highly skilled singer. So in her keynote presentations for district events and paid engagements, she does sing. I'm just telling you, okay? That's okay. So for musical people, it might be the rhythm which you speak, the cadence, the rate, the pitch, the volume, when you're sharing those stories and making those points. So being assertive is to be congruent with how you're delivering them. And there are times, I'll tell you one story, that I was opening for Olivia Newton-John at a women's conference, about 3,500 women. And I was bringing in a concept that how we wake up in the morning sets the pace for the rest of our day. And I thought, well, perhaps you remember the song. Feel free to sing along. It goes something like this. Matter of fact, it's Carole King from the Tapestry album. The song is called You're So Beautiful. You've got to get up every morning with a smile on your face and show the world all the love in your heart. People gonna treat you better. You're gonna find, yes, you will. You're as beautiful as you feel. So I would use a song to help make a point. I'm not in favor of tell a joke just because. Tell a story just because. Sing a clip just because. It needs to have a learning point. So right there, my learning point is how you can also bring in musical. You might even be a rapper or a tapper or create a poem. Those are musical as well. So raise your hand if you're kind of musically inclined. And it doesn't even necessarily mean that you play an instrument. Yeah, so there you go. Thank you. I see a lot of hands go up. Group number 5 is kinesthetic. They really appreciate having some hands-on activities where, well, matter of fact, we're in the Zoom where you can go in and participants and you can raise your hand, you can lower your hand, you can say speed up on the point, oh, I'm taking a coffee break. All of those are forms of engagement for quite often when I'm presenting this at conferences and online virtual webinars, is that I will have a 28-point assessment where the participants quickly go through it and they see what type of communication style do they lean toward, because we have a tendency to speak in our preference regardless of, and not paying attention to what other preferences that people may have. So this again is why we need to pivot, change that channel a little bit to meet people where they are. As Louisa was speaking about, and two great references regarding right speech, right message, right judges, along that same line. If we are missing one of these 7 channels, we are missing connecting with 1/7 of our listeners. What could that mean in a speech contest? Not placing, by not reaching those judges. Yet when we see like Ramona Smith, amazing. She was in a training program in her District 56 2 years prior when I was breaking this down, and LaShonda Rundles, who had been the first female to win the international, I might be incorrect, and maybe the first one in a long time because I believe there was one more prior, that she used all 7 of these in her 7-minute speech. So did Ramona Smith. And I knew that she was going to place within 20 seconds, within 2 minutes. I knew that she had won the World Championship of Public Speaking. So if that's your goal, there you go. If you want to get a promotion at work, then this is what you want to do. So kinesthetic, be involved. Tap into people's senses. They need to move around. The activities that we're doing throughout the WIT, very engaging right there. So those are the main 5. And you'll find that you have strengths and preferences. Oh, kinesthetic, raise both hands, yep, because you need, yep, both hands. That's why too, during our Zoom meetings, we love going, yay, this is our silent applause. Yay, I love it. Then the next 2 groups are interpersonal and intrapersonal. Here's the difference between them. Interpersonal, Barbara Streisand wrote your song a long time ago. People who need people, the luckiest people in the world. You are the people who arrive early for your Zoom sessions, for your club meetings, at your annual conferences, at your district events, at your Toastmasters Leadership Institute, at your leadership development training. You're the first people there. And usually you're the last people to sign off or leave the building. Is that you? Yep. Your gift is people. So if you are a linguistic interpersonal, you come to life during brainstorming sessions where there's discussion. You love that. That's where you shine. That's where you rise and shine. Your challenge here is to bring out people who don't necessarily communicate in the same way, because that's group number 7. The intrapersonal are more introspective. They may be introvert, they may be ambivert, which is a whole nother topic, which may observe from an introvert position, and in that observation, then they will determine when they speak or appear to be extrovert. So that's a different conversation. To give you an idea though, the introspective, this person needs space. They need to think. You're asking yourself right now, perhaps, do I do that? Chances are you are, because that's your voice in there. That's the inside voice. We need to balance being both. So in addition to combining as many of the first 5, linguistic, mathematical, your visual, your musical, and your kinesthetic, then make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Honor yourself, because as you're interpersonal and any of the other 5, you're out there, you're public, you're doing this, you're expending energy, you're here, there, you're super mom, you're super woman for everybody. Then we need to go inside and regenerate, replenish our energy, rekindle our own spirit, so that when we come back out again, that we are fresh to be able to serve. Those are our 7 communication channels. I leave you with a poem I crafted last night. So if you think about which of the 7 multiple intelligences this might relate to, I'll leave that to you. So registration team, if you would post inside the chat box the poem. The poem is entitled Women in Toastmasters. Women in Toastmasters are like no other, multi-brilliant at work, and often too a mother, guided by vision to make a difference in this world, reporting for service with even her hair curled. Ready to go whenever the need, she knows in her heart there's a calling to feed. To do right, to speak up, determined to succeed, a role model that plants the prosperity seed. Knows who she is right down to her core, her essence, her passion shine all the more. She's in charge with a handle on it at the office, at home, or shopping mall. Pursuing pathways she may well know, realizes there's still plenty of room to grow. So energetic, creative, and fun, early to rise, there's much to be done. She still finds time to laugh and to play, sacred time too, to kneel and to pray. Her daily prayer resides in God's grace. Serving others from her heart, she sets the pace. It comes from inside, driven by vision. Just like you, she's on a global mission, making use of her talent, wisdom, and skill from strengths and trust in divine will. Gentle, compassionate, loving, and strong. In this sisterhood of success, you also belong. Anything she puts her heart to, she can do. She's not alone, sister, as you can too. The road to get here has been quite a ride. Call me a woman, it's my source of pride. Come along, she's blazing a trail to women in Toastmasters, whom we all hail. Madam Toastmaster, over to you.
Wow, wow, that was so empowering, distinguished Toastmaster Cheryl. And yes, you said it, we are phenomenal women. Right? Entire district and each one of us here, I present to you the certificate of appreciation for your valuable insight tonight as our keynote speaker. Thank you so much.
My pleasure to serve you.